wrestling, Tom, is something that's you can watch as a casual fan, and that's great, and get enjoyment out of it. But to really go into the depths of it, we're all sort of these mini reviewers, really.
Hello, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and you are watching Tom Talks Rubbish. It's the place for interviews, wrestling reviews, and so much more.
You subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. I highly recommend you subscribe here first.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by Anthony from Give Me a Whole Year.
Oh, yeah. Hello.
So welcome to the show, my friend.
It's all good. It's hard when someone says, give me a whole yeah, not to actually just go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I said
an
this
instruction.
when I had your partner in crime, Dom, on the show. That
my dude.
That is so, as a wrestling fan, that is so closely linked to a catchphrase that you do find yourself either doing it in the catchphrase's voice or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was intentional, Tom. It was intentional. It was supposed to be a pun.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that in this interview, I'm sure.
Awesome, dude.
But if we take this right back to the beginning of your wrestling fandom, where did it begin?
That's a really good question, Tom, and a difficult one. And actually, when I've been interviewing people, like it's a difficult question to answer because some people have a specific moment. I don't know if I really did though. I had when I was younger, we was quite we wasn't a poor family. We wasn't eating slices of bread and sharing that between five of us, but we didn't have Sky, put it that way, in our household. And most wrestling content when I'm a little older, most wrestling content was on Sky, and it was something that you had to pay for. And so I had action figures, and I had one VHS, which was Royal Rumble 1993, which I must have worn out from watching it back and rewatching it over and over again and coming up with all these fantasy booking scenarios with my brother, and then hitting each other with chairs, that's
yeah.
So I guess that's how it started. And then I lost interest in wrestling for many years. I watched a bit of the Attitude Era because that was available on sort of free TV. And then after that, I lost interest. And then I got I was with my partner a few years ago, and I didn't really have anything for myself, but I was watching people like Stephen Larson and What Culture, and they were sort of raving about who I know that you've done a lot of work with on the channel, the Cultaholic guys now,
Yeah, and by the time this goes out, a lot of the What Culture crew.
Nice. Good for you, dude. Well, and all interesting and engaging and discussing wrestling in a way that I found really interesting. And I got to get into the business side of it. And then I heard that Hulk Hogan, sorry, excuse me, was due to be on Big Brother in the UK, and the whole racist scandal happened and all this sort of stuff. And I started getting interested in wrestling again. And I heard that Undertaker was retiring. I loved Undertaker as a kid. Who didn't? In his match against Shane McMahon, and had a few matches since. So I started watching it then, and that's when I really got back into wrestling. And it was WWE and then big, larger characters and legacy, I guess, that got me back into wrestling.
Was this around sort of, just to pinpoint the timeline so I can follow up questions, was this around sort of 2015, 2016 time then?
Maybe a little bit earlier than that. It feels like 2013, 2014 time. But yeah, I mean, around that time, man. And that's when I really got back into wrestling. It was just after CM Punk had left, really.
Okay.
I tell you, the first loss was Wade Barrett left WWE. So it was around that time when he was doing the League of
Nations.
That's the one. There we go. So it was around that time I was getting back into it, really, Tom.
Okay. Do you remember what it was? First of all, do you remember what it was that drove you away back in, like, what year was that?
So I was watching the Attitude Era stuff. So I'd say the thing that really drove me away was just life. just life gets busy. I remember in around 2005, I picked up Mick Foley's book and read that and enjoyed that, and enjoyed watching his DVD. That he did a really great DVD that
Have a Nice Day, I think it's called.
Maybe so, man. I can't remember the name of it, but there was some of the great matches on it and sort of the WCW stuff. And I've always loved Mick Foley, so seeing him was great, and I was able to sort of enjoy that. But then it's not that I got out of wrestling; it's just I had other things in my life. Do you know what I mean? Music and clubs and whatever it was, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So if wrestling had remained, because to us, wrestling is cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if wrestling had remained cool in the general public's eyes, do you think you may have stayed a wrestling fan?
It's an interesting question, Tom. I've always enjoyed it because it's just that mix of like fighting, but at the same time, drama and sort of stories and that sort of fun. Maybe if the sort of people I was hanging out with at the time was doing it. But to be honest, I was busy doing university. I was busy doing X, Y, and Z. So I think sometimes life does catch up on yourself. And it's not until I got a bit older and I was like, actually, I can have this for myself, you know, and this can be my thing that I can enjoy. And that's how I sort of rekindled a lot with Dom, you know. I mean, Dom's remained my friend for years, but it was someone to talk to. And wrestling, Tom, is something that's, you can watch as a casual fan, and that's great, and get enjoyment out of it. But to really go into the depths of it, we're all sort of these mini reviewers, really, who know what we like, and we like to speculate, and we like to fantasy book and all that sort of stuff. And so I started doing that with Dom, and then we was like, dude, this sounds like a podcast in itself, and that's where it comes from.
Okay, we've gone on to a lot quicker than I thought we would.
We can go back if you want, brother.
We will just go back a little bit to...
All good.
How did you and Dom first meet?
We met at college, so that will have been 2002, which is a long time ago. And we was both sort of alternative kids. We both were massive fans of Marilyn Manson, and that's really how we sort of rekindled how we gained our friendship, I guess. We went to go see him together in 2003 in London. And I think that was very much a big growing up experience for both of us, you know, at that sort of age, going out, you know, hundreds of miles away to a gig. It's actually quite a big deal in the sort of passage of life, if you like. And it was a big deal to me. So he'd always be a part of my life because of that. And we bonded because of that. And you know, he's a cool dude. And whilst I'm not going to say we were best friends at college, we always had a respect for each other, and we always cared about each other, and we always had a laugh with each other. I've always treated Dom, you know, as someone very similar to me. Here's a story for you, Tom. I don't know if you know. This is a juicy one. Dom's got cerebral palsy. And we don't. Yeah, right. So we don't tend to mention this on the podcast because it doesn't matter. Dom's Dom, you know.
Yeah.
That's all cool. And it's not that we're hiding it. It's just, you know, we're talking about wrestling, aren't we? And so there was one night we went out, and there was a really beautiful girl, and I wanted to, let's say, kiss her. Should we say kiss her? Is that?
Yes, because I'd like to keep my channel alive.
So I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to give her a little smooch. And she wasn't interested in me. She was interested in Dom. And we'd been friends for like 3 or 4 years by this point. And she said to me, "What's wrong with him?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, what's wrong with him?" And I went, "Well, he's just a bit drunk." She said, "No, with his legs."
I hate that.
What do you mean? Well, obviously he's got some sort of disability. What's his disability? And I went, "I don't know." And we'd been friends for 3 or 4 years by this point, Tom. And it had never come up because it wasn't important. You know, it's a massive part of Dom's life, obviously, but our friendship was about way more than that. It was about having a good time. It was about being brothers, you know, fighting against the world. And actually, the name of something, I knew what Dom's disability was. I knew a lot of the operations that he'd discussed with me, etc., etc. But I didn't know the name of it. And that's not me trying to be it just wasn't important. What was important is friendship and love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like,
needless to say, she didn't get him in the end, and I didn't get her either. So there you go.
fair enough. I've definitely had, and I didn't expect this to go in that direction, but we'll go down that road. Do you know what I mean?
Man?
I didn't expect. No, what was I going to say? I think it's slightly different for me, and this is something I'd love to get Dom's perspective on. Is because of my chair, it's a lot more obvious, I suppose.
Well, I think Dom's is obvious. I mean, he can't walk around without sticks, you know. So I get what you're saying in terms of I guess you're fixed, which is quite difficult. And Dom managed to get his own sort of freedom, but he fought like a trooper to get that, and he still does every day. And that dude is my hero, man. He's my hero.
He and I have spoken about this off camera, and I'm happy to tell this. If I wasn't such a know-it-all teenager that thought they knew everything,
yeah,
I could have been in Dom's position if I'd listened to physios and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
All I'd say to you, man, like I'd say to anyone, is it's you know there's always things you can do, and you can keep trying, and that's all we do with our lives. Do you know what I mean? Never give up, man. Never give up.
Definitely. So going back to Gimme a Whole Year, and then do you remember what specific topic you were talking about when you realised, oh, this could be a podcast?
It was probably Mick Foley. Oh. I'm quite forthright with my. I'm a bit of an asshole, to be honest with you, Tom. I'm quite forthright with my sort of comments, and I'll say to Dom, "Nah, this should happen, that should happen." And Dom's quite interesting because Dom is Mr. Positive. Dom can watch Raw. I mean, I don't know. Don't ask me how, but he can watch Raw. I think he's been struggling the last few. But and I'm like, nah, I can't. I ain't got time for it because our time is precious, Tom. Yeah. You know, we've got so much going on. Like, I can't devote 3 hours of my life to a load of garbage anymore. I don't have time for that. So So that's probably where it was. It'll have been an argument because me and Dom argue all the time, you know, and that's just part of our friendship. That's cool.
Oh no. Cool. Thank God for that, Tobes. My dog just got down off the sofa to peel the curtain back for people that didn't see, and I was panicking that he was going to knock the laptop off.
Oh, bless him. What's your dog called?
Toby.
Hey up, Toby.
Yeah, mate.
Oh, is Toby making his debut?
Not his debut, actually. He's been on here a few times where I now record in a different room to where I used to, and this is like his little room.
Oh, bless him. Well, he's allowed his space, Tom. You're in his space now. You're in his world now.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this, Tobes. Where were we before the dog tangent happened? And this is very unprofessional. I do apologize.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's just a conversation, isn't it? That's all every interview is, I guess. We was talking about man Dom's where the podcast come from. So yeah, it was just chatting about whatever was happening, whatever might have been WrestleMania, and just was like, dude, we could do this. And the other thing is, Tom, going back to my sort of history with wrestling, yeah, I didn't watch any of them early pay-per-views. So I was like, why don't we do it where? Because I bought the WWE Network, why don't we do a review of every wrestling show, every wrestling pay-per-view, starting with WrestleMania 1? And let's work our way through it.
Is that where the wrestling retrospective came from?
Yeah, the Wrestling Rewind series. Yeah, that's exactly where that came from. Yeah. And it was also the fact that we could film something around work and stuff like that, release it and do it. And that was certainly a learning experience for both of us in terms of presenting podcasting and, you know, constantly learning even today. Does that make sense, dude? Yeah,
definitely. Like, we have spoken about a lot that I'm learning every time that I do one of these. Do you know what I mean?
Man. Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm not learning, how am I going to do this? Because he wants to get out.
Oh, does it? You can let him out, man, or whatever, or ask someone to let him out.
Ah, brilliant. Thank you,
bye,
guys.
Toby.
Oh. Right. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace.
I just had to get my sister to do that for me.
Rock and roll. And now we even know Tom's sister's name now. This
She's
podcast
been
is
on
the
my
most
channel
revealing
before.
interview.
Mate, she's been on my channel before.
Rock and roll.
So sorry about all these distractions, guys.
All good, brother. Carry on.
Right, so you were saying about the Wrestling Rewind series.
Yeah, so we started doing that, and it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to sort of watch some pay-per-views and watch where Bret Hart come from. And I started to put sort of links together to stuff that I didn't have before, and really started appreciating wrestling as an art form, because it is an art form. You know, it's not. I always compare wrestling to ballet, and because I enjoy ballet as well, you know, and them superstars work as hard as bloody ballet dancers to stay in the conditioning that they're in, and they are creating these dances between each other whilst trying to look after each other, making it look like it hurt. It's a freaking beautiful thing, man. And if people could like see that more, yet wrestling's got this stigma of being sort of a common man's entertainment, whereas ballet is this high class entertainment. And actually, there's no freaking difference, man. I've worked with ballet dancers in the past. I've worked with wrestlers, and I know how hard both of them work as individuals for the craft. And it's a beautiful thing, man. So I really got interested into the sort of artist side of it, really, and sort of started learning about it, I guess. And then I'm just a wrestling fan, you know. I just take what I do a lot of podcasts with Dom. I also do a lot with Dan, who's from Eve Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Eve, excuse me. He'll kill me for that because that's recorded. Damn it. Pro Wrestling Eve. He's a producer for Pro Wrestling Eve, which is a fantastic UK promotion that deals with women's wrestling. Absolutely outstanding. And he's worked with people like Kota Ibushi in the past, and he's worked with Ring of Honor and all sorts of stuff. But I love having him on the show because it's the type of podcast I'd listen to, because I get to pick his brain about wrestling, and I think that's cool, you know.
Definitely. So one thing I am curious to know is how has your wrestling fandom changed since you started doing Gimme Me a Whole Year? You said you appreciate the art form a bit more now than say when you were a kid.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's what you sort of do. And one of the things that we try to remain within our channel is that we're not just, they are performers. We know that they're performers. That's cool, right? They're doing a good job. You don't watch an action movie and say, this person is like that in real life. We try and separate the fiction from the reality, and understand that can blur lines at times as well. And that's when you get brilliant stuff. I think CM Punk's doing a wonderful job of that at the minute, of blurring these sort of lines. And so by doing that, we're able to not sort of just be a podcast who's all about screaming and shouting about a wrestler or hating on someone, or, you know, we just have a good time. And we realize that it's all not real. It's all booked, and we accept that, but just have a good time. And I think what makes our channel different to some other channels is that we try and remain respectful of that and let people have their opinions, because with that sort of thing, anyone can have a difference of opinion. I love a good heel, you know. But there's a lot of people that don't, and that's cool. That's them getting you invested in the story. But I'm like, you know, let's just enjoy it and let's just see where it sort of goes, Tom. Does that make sense? Definitely.
Like, is the storytelling aspect then your favorite part of wrestling?
Oh, no, that's interesting, Tom, because now we're going into the real semantics of it. So I think wrestling's about three things. I think it's wrestling in ring. I think it's character, and I think it's story. I think they're the three major components that form wrestling. And I think everyone likes a different element of them as different fans. I don't know what you like. I think for me, it's in... Sorry, go on.
Stories,
cool. I think the most important for me is actually the wrestling. And that can include the stories that are told within the wrestling, but the actual sort of physical wrestling, and then stories, and then characters are slightly less important. Whereas Dom's are very, very interesting because Dom's very much the other way. Dom's most important thing a lot of the time is characters. Look at how much he loves the Fiend.
Or loved,
exactly.
should I say?
Exactly. No, he still loves the Fiend, and that's great that he got entertainment from that because he loves the character. But the wrestling, you know, no offense to sort of Bray Wyatt, it's not as important for Bray Wyatt to give a 5-star match. What's important is the character and the story. So I think as wrestling fans, like we all have different levels of what that is, and finding that level is actually something quite interesting to sort of go into and analyze.
Mm-hmm. So
what are you? What's important to you? What's your ranking of them three?
Oh, probably, and this sounds really weird because I love wrestling. Wrestling's at the bottom because I have to be invested in someone's character.
Yeah.
And then to the overall story. Those are three things that make a great match for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's cool. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I'll give you
all
an
three
example.
of us are different, though, is what I'm saying as well. And
I'll give you
actually, people watching will be completely different as well. So it'd be awesome to hear everyone that's watching this to hear their importance of them three.
Give us your ranking in the comments below.
Let's do it, baby. I'll be reading them.
What was I going to say?
Sorry.
No, definitely, man. There was that's the cool thing I think about you and Dom is you're friends, but like you're not clones of each other. Sounds wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
what did you say? You broke up a little, clung to each other.
You're not like clones of each other.
Oh no, man, we're completely different. Dom gets invested in different ways. I get invested in different ways, but we all do as people, you know, and that's cool.
Yeah. So you spoke about there that is Give Me a Hole Yet more of a passion project, or is it something that you want to become your full-time income?
I mean, we'd love it to. How far away we are from that, I don't know. And will we be too old? Will people still be interested when that does become a thing? I don't know. It's been hard going on YouTube because we got onto the scene quite late, really.
Same with me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's cool. It's just about finding that balance, really. So if it could become that, absolutely, that'd be rock and roll. But if it doesn't, then it'll remain a passion project because now I enjoy watching wrestling with people. I enjoy talking to people. And it's such an honor that people will join me to hear my opinion, you know? Yeah. And it's them people watching wrestling, Tom, with us that make the shows, not us. You know, they give us something to talk about.
It's like, just to peel the curtain back, at time of recording, last night was an AEW show.
Yeah, man.
And I stuck my head in the live stream for half an hour, mainly to book this, but there you go.
Hassle me. Hey, get back to me. Get back to me, Tom was saying, yeah.
Sorry. I have social issues, so
that's
I'm not
all good,
great
brother.
at things like that.
You put me on the spot, and I appreciated your effort.
It was like, this has to be done in a few weeks.
Yeah, man, it's all good.
We're both terrible at answering each other back. We admit.
And so busy, man. So busy at my general job at the minute. Yeah.
So, actually, one thing I will ask you is, because it's a passion project.
Yeah.
You and Dom are the only two people that I have interviewed for wrestling that still maintain full-time. Normal jobs always sounds wrong, but you know what I mean.
More than full-time as well.
Yeah.
I think I did 60 hours last week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man, he's a killing.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, you are still two people that maintain, like, regular jobs. So how do you find the time to keep up with everything, to stay informed for your channel, but also still have that enjoyment for wrestling? That's a very wordy question.
No, it's all good, man. It's a great question. Really good question, Tom. Your questions have got even better because we tried to film this before, and these are even better questions, man.
I feel like I've definitely improved since the last time we.
Hey, you're doing good, dude. You're doing good. Right, big question then. So, how the hell do we find time for it? It's something I'd be doing anyway. So when we started in lockdown doing the sort of live streaming, and sort of watching it with fans and watching the weekly programming with fans, because there's not as many people do that. A lot of people will watch the pay-per-views on the bigger channels, but not everyone at that time was certainly doing like every show. And dude, like people were coming to us and hanging out with us and just enjoying like just hanging out, and that's cool. That's all right, you know. And it makes my enjoyment of the wrestling even more. Now, lockdown was different because we had so much time on our hands. Now I don't have time, right? And so, but I'd still be watching AEW as a fan. And if I could watch it live, I would watch it live. And if I can watch it live, why not live stream it and watch it with people? Because I get enjoyment from that.
It's like, normally at this point, I would ask people that work in wrestling, what is the one show that they would make the time for if they weren't involved? So, but I'm guessing that's AEW for you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, obviously Rampage is very difficult to watch in the UK, but Dynamite, like, time is limited, brother. Time is limited. Yeah. I can't watch everything. I don't even bother following. I unsubscribed to the network, man. I'm just not interested.
Me too.
Yeah, like I've got too much in my life going on. Like, and you know what? I get my enjoyment from 2 hours of Dynamite. They give me a solid show. They give me enough to talk about. I enjoy that. I look forward to the pay-per-views. I'm AEW for now, I guess. I don't want to say for life, but for now, that's my bag, baby.
What I will say then is I should have asked you this beforehand, but my interviews tend to go all over the place, and I do apologize for that.
It's all good, man.
Like, how much WCW were you consuming as a kid when you were?
None.
Okay.
We didn't have Sky, so we didn't have Cartoon Network, which is what that used to show on.
Okay, so were you strictly a WWE guy then until you got back in at in 2013?
I guess so, because I didn't know any different. I've worked a lot of wrestling shows. I'm a lighting designer by trade.
Yeah.
So I've worked a lot of UK wrestling shows. I mean, Jesus Christ, like some of the names I think that I've worked with in the past, and I'm like, he's really big in New Japan at the minute, and he's a star on WWE at the minute and stuff like that. So it's been interesting seeing them guys sort of go through, and I always enjoyed them events. Here's what I loved about doing lighting design for them. A lot of the smaller events, they were like, I want it to look good, right? I want it to look good, and I was like, I'll make it look good then, right? I'll make it look good. Who's the heel? Who's the face? I understand the terms, and how can I create an atmosphere as a lighting designer that's going to let the fans in the audience know who's good and who's bad?
Yeah.
I love a challenge like that, you know.
So that's opened up a whole nother conversation. So how did your two sort of worlds merge then? As a lighting designer and a wrestling fan, how did it come about that you were going to do, like, I assume the lighting for a wrestling show?
Several wrestling shows and several wrestling companies as well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I was a fan at that point. I was just doing my job. And the job that I had to do at that point was lighting design for, you know, I've done lighting work for lots of comedians, lots of bands, etc. You know, and some quite famous ones as well.
Yeah.
So it's just another job, man. It's just how can I do my best to create an atmosphere, and that's a lot of what lighting design is about.
Fair enough. So, but going to these shows to do lighting design and stuff, did that help to maybe rekindle your passion a bit, or was it?
God, yeah.
This is just a job.
When you're watching Will Ospreay in the ring, it's like, oh, wow, that kid's got something. And you can't put your finger on it. And then, you know, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also I was working with a company. I don't want to say who it was necessarily.
That's fine.
But they really want it. I was working really closely with them to not just create a one-off show lighting design, but also help develop their brand. And so I did a lot of work with them to try and create that brand and try and create that brand identity. Mm-hmm. And if you look at something like Raw and SmackDown, they've got a really strong identity. When you see Raw, you know it's Raw.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of the video screen saying Raw. It's about color. It's about atmosphere. There's so much going on there, and there's so much to learn within that field as well. It's interesting. One of the things with wrestling that you've got to be careful with is hazers, which are smoke machines. One of the things I was finding in some of my early times is that I was using too much. So while there were, because these were filmed for
You were choking people.
TV. No, I'm not choking people, but in terms of visually, it looks like an old smoky hall, which is very much sort of an old-fashioned, more sort of world of sport look. And actually, you've got to be careful with that, because if you want it to be a family-friendly show, then you don't want it to look like a smoky hall. So, and WWE do a fantastic job of that. It's really interesting, because I work in the technical side of stuff. When WWE announced there was scrapping all pyrotechnics, I was like, dudes, I've got a pyrotechnics license. I know how much pyrotechnics cost. It's not that much money, right? Get them back on, you know. That's like that's a couple of seats that you're selling, and you're saying it's budget cuts. Get out of it, man. Get out of it.
What show currently in wrestling has the best lighting or pyro, in your opinion?
WWE. Yeah, I mean, you can't knock WWE's production. It's clean and sharp. Do I think it's best for but at the same time it's very commercial. So I mean, I enjoyed the sort of more rough look of AEW, and I enjoy the sort of entrances and stuff like that. But WWE's production values are outstanding. If you look at like the Crown Jewel shows, man, I mean, geez Louise, you know. Tyson Fury's entrance a couple of years ago, that was epic.
Thing, wasn't it?
It was what, sorry?
That was a thing, as in...
It was?
I completely forgot he had a match with Braun Strowman.
That's right. But I was as a lighting designer, showing people in my field of work and technicians, etc., saying, check this out, man. This is like, check out the shape of that video screen and the size of it, you know, on Rey Mysterio's entrance, who was smaller than the average bear anyway. And then that Tyson Fury entrance it was magnificent. And wow, that cost a lot of money.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So one thing I am curious to know, as someone that knows a lot about lighting and pyro and stuff, and you said that WWE's is very like commercial, very clean, and AEW's has that rough look. Would you like to see them become more like each other, or
no? I think
it's good that they have their own separate identities.
Need identity, baby. Need identity, and I'm not looking for polished production in AEW. I quite like the fact that some of it's a bit rougher. That's it's a bit like listening to punk or some overproduced punk. There's a big difference in the two. And while some people will love that overproduced punk, which let's use Green Day as an example, right? Some people love American Idiot, right? I think it's the best thing in the world. I can't stand American Idiot. I just want to listen to Nimrod, you know? So there'd be a sort of comparison for you that sort of works.
Okay. So believe it or not, man, we've been going for about 40 minutes.
Rock and roll.
So as we wrap this up, because I do want to be respectful of your time,
all good, brother.
We will do a segment that I now call generic questions. Which essentially is questions I'm sure you get asked on Twitter and stuff like that on a daily basis. But now this video will give you a place to go, look, I've answered this, go watch this. Sort of
okay, that's cool. As long as I can do these questions back at you. Go, let's go.
Favorite match of all time?
Favorite match of all time? Oh, Jesus. King of the Ring, Mick Foley and Undertaker.
Isn't that Dom's favourite match of all time as well?
Probably. It's just it's a match that you can go back and show people and go, do you know you said wrestling was fake? Can watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
but maybe it's been overtaken. I love the Revolution match with Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and the Kenny Okada stuff. It's hard, man. Now, you see, now you've entered a wormhole. You've got me thinking about great matches. But I always, if I was to tend to go back to one, it'd be that King of the Ring.
Will you flip it on me while we're here?
Oh no, keep going. I'm gonna fire questions at you, and they're gonna be random.
Okay.
You wait.
Favorite pay-per-view of all time?
Favorite pay-per-view of all time? Oh, dude, I loved All Out this year. It's hard to argue. It was bloody brilliant. I love Full Gear this year. I think. Sorry, mate, you're cutting out. Say again.
Sorry, bro. Only where I leant back for a second.
That's all right, man.
What happened on Full Gear? My brain does not work very well.
Oh, right. Full Gear, you had...
was that Hangman?
Britt Baker. Yeah, it was Hangman winning the title. There was the FTR Young Bucks match. There was the Luchasaurus and Elite match, which was mental. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in that pay-per-view, man. A lot of good stuff.
And you had Punk Kingston as well.
Punk Kingston, MJF, and Darby, of course, as well. So, yeah, it was a solid pay-per-view. I think All In might have been slightly bigger, but I think I just enjoy modern wrestling. And then I'll always go back to Royal Rumble 93, even though it's not very good. It's just part of my history.
That's your childhood favorite.
Exactly.
Favorite, I wouldn't normally ask this one, but since we went into a conversation about wrestling, Pyro, favorite wrestlers Pyro of all time?
Favorite wrestlers Pyro? I like the simpleness of the DX Pyro.
Okay.
Do you know when it used to shoot across and it used to form an X? There's something really simple and nice about that works. Obviously, Kane as well. The sort of going into the ring and then bang, and the fact that sort of a play on what his brother. I love that story. What his brother was doing was bringing up the lights with his hand. He was bringing down fire and brimstone, baby.
Favorite. Actually, least favorite Pyro of all time.
Oh, it'd have to be the one where like Jeff Hardy got burned or the Undertaker. I mean, God, I hate seeing stuff like that. And so anything where someone's got hurt is definitely a least favorite Pyro of mine.
Have you seen, as someone that's worked on wrestling shows for Pyro and stuff, have you seen any Pyro accidents?
I've never had one, thankfully. I had a near miss once. I've never had one, thankfully.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Favorite storyline of all time. That is really hard to say, by the way.
That's all right, man. Favorite storyline of all time. Love the Shawn Michaels retirement angle. That was brilliant with the Undertaker. Kenny Omega and Adam Page, man, it's been great over the last 3 years. You know, a long-term build. Yeah. Have I ever cried or anything in wrestling? I felt emotional. Connor,
that was the next question, actually.
Is it right? Connor with the whole Daniel Bryan thing, I think that was outstanding. And yeah, that is emotional. That is WWE do some great charity work there. So yeah, that'd be one as well, I'm sure.
Favorite video package of all time?
Video package.
That can be pre-match or something else.
I mean, the promo would probably be with a tear in my eyes is sort of classic. Video package, I can't think. The Attitude ones were great because there was a bit garbage. You go back and watch them now, and they're like, I can't think of a specific one, but like people like shouting at each other, blah blah blah, and then you get these random images of like a dog barking and stuff, or chain link fence. It's hilarious. Yeah, I love watching stuff like that back, or even the like early the early sort of '94 stuff where it was like really corny. That was funny as well.
We've done most emotional moment as a wrestling fan. No. Have you been in the audience for a pay-per-view?
No, not WWE or AEW. No.
Normally, I would ask that question, but okay, I'll flip it around then. Favorite show you wish you were in the audience for?
I mean, so if you're going into UK based, it'd have to be SummerSlam '93, wouldn't it?
I think you mean 92, but
I do mean 92. SummerSlam 92, British Bulldog, Bret Hart, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, stuff like that. But also the Shawn Michaels and his name escapes me. Arrogance.
Rick Rude.
No. He did all the stuff with Sherry. Rick Martel. There you go. All that sort of stuff I think was great. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Then specific wrestling moment you wish you were in the crowd for?
Of all time? I think, well, not necessarily, maybe Shawn Michaels retiring. I think it'd be a big moment that I wish I was in the crowd for. It was a great match as well. It was one of them where it was a perfect combination. That's what, do you know I was talking to you about all the three different things?
Yeah.
That's where like all three of them things were at such a high level. The story was perfect. The characters were great and had such history, and the match is brilliant. It's like that is fantastic wrestling.
So what is your, and before we go into the question that I end all my interviews on now, what is your ultimate goal with Give Me a Whole Year?
Oh, great question. To carry on enjoying it, man. To enjoy it and hopefully like inspire a little bit. Give someone a smile, right? That's important. Yeah. And as much as people are there, I'm there for people to get that from. I think it's also important for me. I went to a really rough time during lockdown where I had the community pick me up, and whilst it works for me to pick people up, it works the opposite way, and that's what we try and create at Gimme a Whole Year, a safe platform for people to feel safe and hopefully just give them a bit of a smile.
Oh, that's really nice. And with it being a passion project, if you both stopped enjoying it, and this is a question that I'd love to ask Dom, would you walk away?
Yes. Yeah, I think you have to with any sort of passion project. I think I one of the things I said to Dom was like, I'm not doing WWE anymore. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not getting in. WrestleMania this year was the last one I did, and I did it because it was WrestleMania, and I'm like, I'm just not interested, and it's not worth my time. And how can I pretend to be engaged in something when I just think it's a bit garbage?
Yeah.
And also the thing with WWE that I really dislike is I'm a union rep myself. And
okay.
I hate the practices in that company. I find it very difficult to support a company that treats its employees like that.
Yeah.
I struggle to get past that.
I didn't until, I'm going to be honest, because stuff like that goes over my head a little bit.
That's all good, man. That's all good,
but
yeah.
I didn't until they started releasing people, and I'm like, how do you not have something for or
It's not the releases that annoy me. It's Velveteen Dream was a whole issue that I'm not even going to talk about on stream because
please don't.
You know, I was angry about that situation, and any company that makes you feel angry, like, why should you support them? To the point where when we was watching NXT on the channel, I would not watch Velveteen Dream matches. I would talk about something else because I don't think that it was. I don't think the company did the due diligence that they should have done at all. So, you know, but then other things like the whole sort of keeping people under the thumb by not letting them have Twitter streams and that sort of stuff is really good for mental health. And to say you can't do it is just too controlling for me. I'm not a fan, Tom. I'm not a fan.
Fair enough. What is it, before we end on the question I always end on, what could WWE do to bring you back?
Improve the working practices, make their employees happy again, and I'd have to see, like, I'd have to determine whether I felt that evidence was real or not, as opposed to just a company person saying I'm very happy. Looking after the welfare of the performers more. and stories would probably be the second thing. Like creating engaging stories that actually mean something and which are referred to as opposed to just forgotten. I think is very important. And I don't think these are hard to do. Like, they shouldn't be hard to do. These are just human things to do for me, Tom. So but I don't think they'll do it until there's a new person in charge.
Fair enough. So and this is just one more question before we end on the question that I would end on. Is that another reason you don't want, not saying you don't want Give Me a Whole Year to become your full-time job, but is that another reason you're a bit wary of that happening? Because you may have to start covering WWE more, or you may have to do things you're not enjoying as much.
I mean, if it's a job, it's a job, and I think it is important in your job to sort of have the breadth of knowledge that people expect you to have. So I'd absolutely cover it if I had to, if it was part of the sort of working week. So no, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But at the same time, I would absolutely voice my opinions on it, and absolutely, and I think that's important. I think let's be critical about human rights and the way we're treating people and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So as we wrap this up, I want to say thank you to Anthony for coming on. Obviously, thank you to Dom for being.
He's done now.
Both of you for just being really supportive and stuff with my channel.
Good, man. You're doing great. I've got some quick questions for you. Are you ready, Tom?
Yeah, come on then.
Quick fire questions. Let's go. Burger King or McDonald's?
I have to say Burger King.
Y-fronts or boxers?
Boxers, duh.
Simpsons or South Park? Boxers, duh.
Simpsons.
Simpsons. Oh, whoa. Okay, controversial. AEW or WWE?
AEW.
Oh, David Bowie or Slade?
David Bowie.
Okay, cool. Rock and roll. There's my quick fire questions, Tom. Hope you enjoyed them.
That was fun, and that was fun having it switched on me for a change, which hasn't happened
Tom.
for a while.
If you're in a zombie apocalypse.
Oh no.
If you're in a zombie apocalypse, what is going to be your weapon of choice?
Why would it be my wheelchair? Because
wheelchair.
I can't exactly go anywhere without it, can I?
Pimp that stuff out, man. You can have like chainsaws on it, just like rolling down, taking off somebody's legs.
That'd actually be sick. But
pretty cool answer that, Tom. Well done, man.
The question I always end on now is, with YouTube, with podcasting, with social media in general, we're all sort of gonna live forever in some sort of ways.
Legacy, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So what is one video that you're like, or podcast in your case, that you're like, I've grown a lot since then. Like, things have changed. My opinion's changed. Don't go back and watch that. And then what is one that you're like, I'm really happy with my body of work on that. Go and watch it if you want to know what I'm about.
That's a really great question. Well, mate, you can't I'd say the Wrestling Rewind series. Like, if you was to watch one of them, you'd see how much we've developed and changed, and how how we're having more fun with it, Tom, because that's what this is. It's fun. So I'd certainly say that. In terms of the video I'm most proud of, it's going to be the video that's out latest on our channel. I mean, last week, this is going out months ago, I did a top 5 winners of the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and I'm really proud of that. And I was happy with my filming that video and happy with how it turned out. So, I think anything recent is going to be, you're going to take all them learning experiences out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Definitely. Obviously, I want to say thank you to Anthony for coming on. Plug away, good sir, before we leave.
You can find me at Gimme a Whole Year, Gimme a Whole Year podcast on YouTube, as well as on the Twitter. I think we've got a TikTok. Dom keeps doing stuff on there, so check that out. Send some love to my brother Dom at Dom Sphere, or Dom Sith, maybe. I don't know. He changes his name.
I think it's Smith again. I think he's changed it again.
How can I plug it when he keeps changing his bloody name?
I know.
But Gimme a Whole Year is always going to stay the same, and you can find all of our links in there as well. So I'm sure my dude Tom will put a link in the channel below. Yeah, come and hang out.
Yep. So obviously, if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.